Hello boys, let us continue with the lesson on Union Legislature. Last time we had stopped at the special powers of the Raj Sabha. So in continuation of the chapter we come to the next topic, and that is powers and functions of the Parliament. Now in the powers and functions of the Parliament we have first the legislative powers. Legislative power means that the Parliament makes laws and policies for the people of India or for the government, and the first power under this heading is the bills. We studied earlier also that all ordinary bills can originate in either of the two houses, that is the Raj Sabha or the Lok Sabha. But the money bills can only originate in the Lok Sabha. The next step of the money bill is that the money bill is then sent to the Raj Sabha, and the time period for that is 14 days. For 14 days, the Raj Sabha can keep the bill, study the bill, can even not pass the bill. But after the 14 days are over, the bill is deemed to have been passed. Then we have also studied in the beginning the union list, the state list and the concurrent list. So we here have again the Parliament is empowered to make laws on subjects, that is 97 subjects or items mentioned in the union list. For example, defense, communication, foreign policies. Along with it, the state legislature too has got certain subjects which the Parliament can only legislate when the Parliament is requested by two or many states to legislate on those subjects. The third list is the concurrent list, where there are 47 subjects and in which both the state legislature and the central legislature, or you can say the union legislature, can legislate. But if there is any conflict related to the laws between the two legislatures, then the law that is passed by the union legislature shall prevail. We also have in the beginning talked about another list that is called as residuary list. Residuary list, I repeat, is that list where those items or subjects are mentioned which are not mentioned in the other three lists. The three lists are union, state and concurrent list. Now the Parliament also has the powers to make laws on subjects mentioned in the state list. You can be asked a question, when does the Parliament, I repeat, when does the Parliament legislate on subjects mentioned in the state list? So the first situation that has been given in the book is that when the Raj Sabha passes a resolution by 2/3 majority stating that that particular subject mentioned in the state list has assumed national importance. National importance means it is not important only for the state, but it is important for the entire nation. The second reason or second situation that has been given is when there is national emergency in operation in the country, then also the Parliament can legislate on subjects in the state list. When two or more states request the Parliament on a particular subject in the state list to be legislated by the Parliament, or when there is any need to give effect to international agreements, treaties and conventions, then also the Parliament can legislate on subjects in the state list. The last reason or the last situation when the Parliament can legislate on subjects in the state list is when the state is put under President's rule and the Parliament takes all the powers of the state, including the financial powers of passing the budget for the state. So we have here the legislative powers. In that we have just studied that the Parliament makes laws and policies for the country. Secondly, all ordinary bills originate in the Raj Sabha as well as in the Lok Sabha. And I would add a point over here that if there is any deadlock over an ordinary bill, the President calls for a joint session, and we have studied in the powers of the Speaker that this joint session is presided by the Speaker of the Lok Sabha. Then we come to the money bills. We know that the money bills originate only in the Lok Sabha, then sent to the Raj Sabha for passing it, and the time period is 14 days. You have to use the number, not 2 weeks. Remember that, boys, 14 days. And after this period is over, and if the Raj Sabha has not passed the bill is deemed to have been passed by the Lok Sabha. Then we have already discussed about the three lists: the union list, where the parliament legislates; the state list, where the state legislature legislates; and the concurrent list, where both legislate, the union as well as the state. But the law, if there is a conflict, the law passed by the union legislature shall be taken into account. Then we have studied the residuary powers, where the subjects that are not in the three list are there in the residuary powers. According to the book, the next topic is that when does the parliament legislate on subjects in the state list? We know when two or more states request it, when there is a national emergency in the country, when there is a subject which has assumed national importance according to Raj Sabha and its 2/3 majority saying that, when there is any need for approval of international treaties and agreements and conventions, then also the parliament can legislate. And when there is president's rule in a state, that time also the parliament can legislate on all subjects mentioned in the state list, including the budget. We will be doing the budget in the next chapter also, and I would just repeat the definition of budget over here, that it means the income and expenditure of the government for the coming year. That is, it starts from 1st April and ends on 31st of March. Then we have the executive powers of the parliament. We know that the government is responsible to the parliament. It has to answer to the parliament. It has to answer to the members of the parliament for all their acts, for all their policies. We have studied the question hour, that is the first sitting of the session, or first hour of the session is reserved for asking questions. The members can put up questions to the ministers, and the ministers are obliged to answer to the members and to the house regarding their department, regarding their field of administration. Then we have the adjournment motion. We have discussed what is adjournment motion, that there is any discussion taking on or taken up in the house, and all of a sudden there is a tragedy or natural disaster or an accident or a plane crash. Then that discussion is stopped and this problem that has just cropped up is taken into discussion. So this is adjournment motion. Then we have the censure motion, which is not obliging the full ministry to resign. A censure motion can be against one minister and that particular minister has to resign. You can also use headings for this answer that mention the how does the parliament control the executive. You have the question hour, you have the adjournment motion, you have the censure motion, and you have the budget session. We know what is the budget session, where the income and expenditure is discussed, and then the house approves to the budget, and if the house rejects the budget is not passed, or there is a cut motion in the budget. Then we come to the judicial powers. The parliament can impeach certain dignitaries. We have earlier studied that. That is where we studied the co-equal powers of the parliament. We studied that the Raj Sabha and the Lok Sabha together can impeach the judges of the High Court, the Supreme Court, impeach the President of India, the Vice President of India, then can also punish a person for obstructing the work of the Parliament by showing disrespect to the House. Then controlling the finance of the country. How does the Parliament control the financial conditions, or you can say the finance of the country? The first point is annual budget, which I have just now told you that the statement of all sources of income and expenditure for the coming year is known as the budget. We know that it is presented by the finance minister in the house. He is one of the cabinet ministers, and the parliament has the power to cut or reject it as a whole. Then we have the Consolidated Fund of India, through which the various dignitaries are paid their salaries. Then we have a supplementary budget where there is some additional demand in between the financial year, and that is called as supplementary budget. The next is all the salary and allowances of the members of parliament are decided by the parliament. For such questions, you can always use headings where the heading gives you an exact meaning of the answer. Like you have the budget, you explain the budget, then you have the Consolidated Fund of India, then you have the salaries and allowances of the MPs. So all this can be mentioned under the controlling over the finance of the country. Then we come to the electoral functions. Electoral means who are the dignitaries, who are the ones who are elected by the parliament. They are the parliament and the Vidhan Sabhas elect the president of India. The parliament elects the vice president of India. The Lok Sabha elects the speaker and the deputy speaker, and the Raj Sabha elects the deputy chairman of the house. So these are the electoral powers of the parliament. The next, we have the privileges enjoyed by the members of the parliament. They have the freedom of speech in the parliament. They have the freedom of arrest, freedom of appearing as a witness in any court. There is a right to prohibit the publications of proceedings in the house, and the right to punish members and outsiders for the breach of its privileges. These are the privileges of the MPs. Now let us do what is the relationship between the Lok Sabha and the Raj Sabha. The first is that they enjoy co-equal powers. We have discussed this earlier and we repeat it. Co means where both the houses enjoy equal powers. We have studied that ordinary bills are originating in any of the two houses. Then amendments to the constitution are taken up by both the houses, where 2/3 majority who is present will be voting for an amendment. Amendment means a change to the constitution. Then for the election and impeachment process, both the houses are equally participating. Emergencies which are proclaimed by the president are approved by both the houses, and ministers who are appointed to the Council of Ministers can be members of either of the two houses. So these are the various points that tell you what are the co-equal powers of the parliament, or co-equal powers of the Raj Sabha and the Lok Sabha. The Lok Sabha has been given exclusive powers over money bill that we've already discussed. It originates in the Lok Sabha and goes to the Raj Sabha, and 14 days is the time period for the Raj Sabha to pass it. Then even with regard to ordinary bills, we know that it can originate in either of the two houses, but if there is any conflict over the bill, there is a joint session of both the houses that is called by the President of India and presided by the Speaker. These are just a repetition of all the points that we've discussed earlier. And because the Lok Sabha has more members, obviously it will be having an upper hand in the passing of the bill. I go back to the lesson and tell you that 545 for Lok Sabha and 250 members in the Raj Sabha. There are situations where when the Raj Sabha has superiority over the Lok Sabha, that is when the Raj Sabha passes by 2/3 majority, saying that a particular bill in the state list has assumed national importance, and when the Raj Sabha can create an all India service. The last topic of this chapter is amendment of the constitution. There is a there can be changes brought to the Constitution. In the Constitution, some points or some provisions can be deleted or some provisions can be added in the Constitution. But there are two procedures for the amendment. One is a procedure with a simple majority of the House required, and the other is having a rigid procedure where two-thirds members of both the houses should be present and voting for that particular amendment. Now let us see what are the provisions or what are the things that can be changed by a simple majority. That is citizenship qualifications, creation of new states, the limits of territorial waters. They can be changed, they can be added, or they can be deleted or amended by a simple majority. Then there are amendments by two-thirds majority where not less than two-thirds members should be present and voting. They are the election of the president. These are the provisions that can be amended by a strict procedure. Distribution of legislative powers between the union and the states to be carried out by two-thirds majority. So remember boys, whenever there is any amendment to be carried out, it has to be initiated. It has to be started or taken up by the union legislature and ratified or approved by more than 50% of states of India. Now this is the lesson, and we have already studied each and every topic of this lesson. This is a very important lesson for ICSE. We have 3 questions coming in the ICSE paper from civics, and the first question is always from this chapter, that is Union Legislature, where you can be talked or asked about the Parliament or its powers or the composition of the two houses, the Speaker and his powers can be asked in this chapter. So I hope every topic or each topic of this lesson is very clear to you. You have certain questions at the back of the lesson. You can solve those questions, write those answers in your history notebooks, and that will be taken as your project work for the school examination that may take place in the months to come. So wish you all the best for the time being. Take care of yourself and God bless.